This is the first car I ever owned. It's an early 80s Stinger go-kart. It's a 206cc, 5 horsepower at 3600R. Yeah, this go-kart came with this cool little decal on it. The whole go-kart was painted black. It has this little B decal. It says Stinger at the top. It's kind of cool, early 80s. Here's the original spark plug that came on it. It's a Champion CJ-8. The gapage was 32 on this one right here. The gapage is a lot smaller on this one. It's probably closer to 25 on the new one. That spark plug uses a 19mm socket to take it on and off. Today I'm replacing the pull cord. That's pretty easy. You got 3 bolts and they're 7/16. One of them goes right here in the top. One of them goes down here in the bottom. And then one goes on the other side. The other one's on the front side down at the bottom. Alright, I'm putting this new ripcord on this go-kart. Now on this handle, it's got 2 holes on each side. One of them's big, one of them's small. Basically, you want to run your rope through the smallest hole that it'll fit through. You're gonna turn it counterclockwise as tight as it'll go, and it'll probably stop about right here whenever you get as tight as possible. Then what you're gonna have to do is back off of it just a little bit and move it until this hole lines up with this right here. Then what you're gonna do is run your rope from the outside. You're gonna run it through this hole from the outside, and then it's gonna come through this hole here, and then you tie it off. So I got this cord installed. I double knotted it, just tied 2 knots and made sure they're real, tight. And I also got this thing pulled so tight that the cord pulls all the way tight. See that? Okay. So I'm removing this air filter. I think this might be a number 3 screwdriver. And this just comes off, just lifts right off like that. So everything's gonna have to be cleaned out of here. I'm gonna spray it with engine cleaner. Spray everything on the inside with engine cleaner to clean it out. Put the new filter in there and re-oil it. All this just comes out. Look how bad that filter is. Yeah, that's why you want to change these. This filter's probably about 40 years old. I'm just gonna dump this out. Like that. This is what I'm using to clean it. This is engine cleaner. Get it at pretty much every hardware store. Anyways, let all that soak. Made it all sprayed already. Okay, I used this toothbrush right here, this old toothbrush, to scrub and clean the inside of that intake with the engine cleaner. Then I hosed it off. This is the air filter you're gonna need. This is what it looks like. Okay, the part number is 27987. Okay, I've had my filter sitting in this plastic container that the air filter came in, and it's letting the oil drain because you're gonna have a lot of oil drain off of it, especially if you use like 10W30, like a thick oil. As you can see all that oil down in there that drained, and this is from it sitting here. So you might want to let this sit overnight before you put it on, or it's going to drip all over your engine. But I got to go ahead and put it on. You can see how I got the new filter on there. It's all green now instead of dirty looking. So yeah, that's what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on. Okay, I got my air filter installed. There, and I filled it up with so much oil, it's just pouring out. there. So I'm gonna take my filler cap and put it back on. Your chain is broken, okay, you're gonna put a zip tie on there, and the tighter you pull it, the closer the chain goes together. Then after you do that, you're gonna take this little thing in the back. Okay, I got the chain on. Now the zip ties, they held it in place, and I got them as tight as I could because I just bit down on them like this with a pair of pliers and pulled on them as tight as I could. Then that wasn't good enough. I still couldn't get the connector link in there. So then I took these pliers and I like grabbed the side of the chain links like this and then bit down on it, and then it squeezed it enough to where I could slide the link in there. But I got it on there, so next thing to do, here's the connector right there. So the next thing to do is cut the zip ties off so I can spin it around and rotate it. Yeah, this go-kart chain's a number 35 and it has 80 links on it, and there's no adjustment for any of the sprockets, so that's why I had to put it on there like that. I mean, the way that I put this chain on is probably the only way I could have got it on, because there was no slack in it at all. It's on there. I mean, look, I'm pushing on it now. Like, it's not moving. There's no slack at all. Look how tight that chain is. Yeah. Alright, I fixed a couple of things today. When I pulled the pull cord right here, it wouldn't retract. It wouldn't go back in. Okay, and I already changed the oil on this thing. So on this go-kart, when you pull the pull cord, this part of the clutch, this center nut right here, when you pull the cord, it'll turn counterclockwise when you're pulling it. When it retracts, it turns clockwise. So if you pull the cord and it won't retract, you can grab this nut right here and turn it clockwise just a little bit, and it'll start to retract back in there. But the reason the cords get stuck is because whenever it sits for a long time, you have old oil in there and stuff like that. So yeah, you just want to change the oil and then pull the cord several times with the spark plug removed, and then it'll start working again. Like right now, I can grab it and see. So it's working now. Now the problem is it wasn't getting any spark. Okay, and I took this multimeter tool and I did the little test, and it wasn't showing anything. It wasn't showing any continuity at all. So yeah, I know this go-kart ain't got a lot of hours on it. It might be old. It might have been sitting for a long time, but it doesn't have a lot of hours on it. So this ignition coil should still be good, even though it's old. So here's what I had to do: is I had to take some sandpaper and stick it inside here and sand the rust off of this connector. And then after I sanded all the rust off the connector, I started getting 2.7 on my meter, which means that the coil's still good. So yeah, make sure this end connector, you sand it with some sandpaper or something if you're getting zero continuity on your coil. But now it should fire up and spark. So here's how I test the coil. I take my multimeter, I put it on 20K. Okay, and then the positive is stuck inside the spark plug connector. And then down here on the bottom of this go-kart, it's got something called a stop switch. It's kind of hard to see because that cable's in the way. But the stop switch is basically what I'm going to ground it to. So here's my stop switch right here. So I'm getting a reading now. Of course, it should be 2.7. There you go, 2.75. Okay, so that's how you test the coil. Touch the stop switch with the negative, it says 2.75. Touch your stop switch with the negative, and then the positive goes on the spark plug terminal, and you don't even have to pull the engine cover off or anything. Okay, this is the factory kill switch that came on the go-kart, and it has one terminal on the back of it which grounds it out to the frame here. And I'm going to show y'all how it was hooked up originally before. Okay, I zoomed in pretty close here. This is your factory stop switch, and the top wire you see is the ground, which is coming from the ignition coil. The bottom wire you see is what I added. The bottom wire is running to that kill switch, and that's all you do is you just run the other end of it into the stop switch like that. Pretty simple. I recommend using 18 to 22 gauge wire. What you see here is 18 gauge. If you go any bigger than that, the wire's not going to fit in this hole. Now originally, I remember the wire went across this right here, and it was tucked behind this. It came around the back, and it went across this, and then it went down. And right here where these two bolts are, it had a fender. It had a fender that covered up this clutch to keep stuff from splattering on the driver when they're driving, like rain, water, or mud, or oil, grease, whatever, you know. So what happened was this wire was right there, and it fell down, and it got caught in the chain broke it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm rewiring it a different way. So on the other side of this engine here, I pulled the cover off of it, and I have this black wire coming up through here next to the ground wire that's going to the ignition coil, and then I got it running past that, and it's going underneath this metal cover down through that opening. And when I put the new cover on, it'll come through the opening. But I put it this way so it won't get caught on the chain, so the chain won't rip it. Alright, here you can see I got it wired up. That little connector that goes on the end of the wire, it's the one that kind of looks like a Y. It has like these little teeth that come off of it. Anyways, those little teeth were too long, so I filed them down so it would fit on there a lot more flush and snug and everything. But yeah, that's it. Got my shrink tube on there and everything. So okay, I got the kill switch going down from here, and it goes underneath along this bottom rail, connects to this zip tie, goes up into the engine, and you can see where it goes into the engine here. So in case people don't know, the stop switch is on the very back here, underneath all this, right there where those wires are. And here on the spark plug, I got it covered in grease. It's white lithium based grease, but I have to put some type of grease on it because this type of spark plug terminal, it just rusts in like 12 to 24 hours. It starts growing rust, so you gotta keep grease on it. There's the inside of the tank after I cleaned it. There's a bit of gas in it. I cleaned it out pretty good. Try to get some light in there. So the next thing to do is put fuel in it. Put some gas in it. So it does run. What I just did was gave it some throttle to check the clutch on it to make sure the clutch was engaging and working, you know, and that's why I drove it forward just a little bit right there. Okay, it was the steering wheel. Okay, it's the steering wheel making all that noise. See, the engine sounds good though. So let's see if the kill switch kills it. Yep, I did it. That's it. Okay, here to the right of me in the black oil drip pan, drain pan, I got about 2 gallons of vinegar, and I got the wheels and some parts soaking in it to clean the rust off. In the red bucket over here, I have parts that I put in there, and it's got water and baking soda in it. So it's got probably about a half a box of baking soda, and they're sitting in there to neutralize the acid. And then I'm going to pull them out and I'm going to paint them. This is what the wheels look like after I cleaned all the rust off of them with vinegar and baking soda. Now it's time to paint them. This wheel right here, it had so much rust on it, I had to soak it in vinegar for 4 days. Okay, I have the wheels painted with this Rust-Oleum chrome paint. Got it from an auto parts store. It's an outdoor paint. Got some new tires, new tubes. Alright, new tires and tubes installed on my old wheels that I refurbished. The new tires have the exact same tread pattern as the old tires, so they're basically identical as the old ones. Okay, I got the throttle cable shortened. It's got this connector in there called a Z-hook, but it's still not working right, so I'm still gonna have to work on the throttle cable. Okay, I got the wheels and tires on there. Did a lot of work to this. I think I'm gonna go ahead and end the video, but the only thing I really have left to do is put a carburetor kit on it, you know, pull the carburetor off and clean it and replace the gaskets. And it also needs a new throttle cable. And then besides that, I was thinking about repainting the whole thing, but I wanted it running before I tried to repaint it. And yeah, that's it for now, but I might make another video later on if I repaint it or anything like that.